But then I went to visit my daughter in Germany when she was studying. Ran over the border. I see 100 kilometers before I expected. I'm running out of electricity. So he was like, okay, let me stop at a nearby gas station. There is only one plug and that's taken. How long is it going to be taken? For another 2 hours. Okay, I drive another half an hour and then I'm really done. You know, he says. I stopped there. Still not spot. I just called dealership and told them, your car is there. I'm done. Because it was still in this trial period.
Maybe
So that was one attempt.
Move the car somewhere else and run a cable out of a bedroom or something.
It's fine.
I mean,
It's
I think it's fine for now.
Yeah.
If we continue with the workshop,
Yes.
then we will
If we
all be
could
able to
continue-
make soon.
Yeah.
Okay, fine.
Do story time later.
Okay, so
Okay,
we've
so-
decided it's a
No,
post-conference.
Just a second. For workshops, you cannot do the post-conference. I did in Chengdu workshop, so they have really tight timeline, and that's also a little bit later than regular papers. It's not really much later. It's not really that you can do it after the conference.
Yeah, but I guess if you do separate proceedings, it could
It's a
be
separate
negotiated.
proceeding, right?
I understand you
Yeah.
can't do it because there is one volume
No.
of workshop
But the
proceedings.
Yes.
But no, there's not. Every workshop has
It's
individual
separate
proceedings.
one.
Yes,
Okay.
individual.
So that gives us the opportunity for a hackathon cannot be written. The paper cannot be written till after the hackathon.
Yeah.
Explain
Yeah.
it to the name I don't want to
April.
mention. You know the.
Yes. No.
The
This
lady
is
that
this
sends
is not,
emails.
Yeah, but this is fine. This is a very.
I just didn't want to say the name.
Klaus, you've agreed to do that.
This is a look, but this is a
You're
very
gonna be
solvable
communicating
problem.
with
This is
everyone.
essentially just order another set of proceedings with ACM Publishing.
Yeah, that's fine.
If-
That's fine.
If SIGMM says no, look, there's another event that has proceedings a month later, then there's going to be another event that has proceedings a month later. And ACM Publishing, whatever, will charge SIGMM something for that. But SIGMM wanted a hackathon, so
Yes, right.
But let's check it if it's possible.
It's possible.
we'll just tell them that this is
Did you ever do it?
what needs to happen,
No.
and then it will happen somehow.
I've also never did it because I know we were breaking spine once with Miriam Reddy. I remember in Brisbane, really to get a papers on time, and it was pretty much like regular proceedings. And also last time I did it for Chengdu, it was also, you know.
Yes, but
Yeah.
they're usually
probably-
only very specific about their dates, because they say, okay, no, the thing needs to be published at that point in time. Therefore, you need to
We
send
will-
it in time.
We'll
If we say,
probably
look,
end up
this is
giving them
published
the
whenever.
dates, and we'll give them a third set of dates for the hackathon publication, and they'll
If you
stick to
think
that.
it's possible.
Yeah,
I
with
believe
a
it's
with a
possible.
targeted publication date of end of the year or something,
Yes,
and
yeah.
then
It's just impossible to do it any other way. Right? So unless you run the hackathon 2 months early, and that doesn't make
that's
sense.
not
No,
happening.
yes, doesn't make sense.
Now, we're gonna have my understanding is we're gonna have a call for hackathon topics
Yes.
that are at least somewhat health related. Some of them.
Well, yeah, what we said before was to say it should be data exploration and or data augmentation based on this data set, and then if you want to slant it towards the health thing, in addition to that, fair enough. And this was just going to be the criteria by which this is going to be judged.
Because that's what came out of that workshop.
Yeah, but we can
Health-based
put that into the
hackathon.
call as like
Yeah.
an example and say.
Send.
What happens if nobody comes up with a health-based idea? Then we've just done the hackathon as per SIGMM's request from the very senior people in the field. So let's do a health-based hackathon. Oh look, we're doing one on tracking
it
of
has to
expressions
be-
on faces.
No,
It
yes.
has to be. We
No.
just say.
You cannot
Look,
control what
if
people want to
if
work.
people are interested in doing other things with a data set, let people also do other things with a data
But
set.
then should we not
But there's-
have ourselves
I mean, then-
a health
Yes,
like,
but
you-
the thing is, how many people have been at this seniors? I've not been invited. I wouldn't know, right?
about
Um,
20.
So one of these 20 people are then supposed to propose a
Yeah,
topic.
exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. So now
And
they
I
basically-
understand that they're all busy, but one of them.
Well, basically, now you should send back mail to them and say, now we have made this. Now it's your turn to actually assemble a group to work on something, right?
Okay.
So it's a responsibility that something
And I
happens.
mean, even most of these people are very senior. They probably have research groups with
Right.
lots of people, so
Exactly.
they can just go to their group and say, you five, you go to the hackathon and,
Yes.
and work on this, right?
Precisely.
So the catch is, I like that one, and I think it would be, so how the city of Amsterdam did it, and I think those were really nice hackathons. There is not a fake, but a clear need. We have these panoramas, and we use them to monitor problems in a public space, crowdiness, this and that, state of the assets, but it kind of helps if there are more users, if more departments commit to making something useful out of it. So basically, there is some coordination going on. Chief Technology Office approached them, and people are really interested. Genuinely, I have this process, and if I can cut 2 million per year, it's amazing, So they come there and they think, look, it doesn't have to. It can be vague. I said it already. Like advertisement, public advertisement is just Wild West, So can we get it from panoramas? If that panorama is recorded a few times per month, we can. So do something with that. You don't have to.
Yeah, but I guess it's a difference in terms of the motivation. If you work with your own data or data from your own organization, or you do something on another data set. So I think here it's more, probably we're more targeting the research community with this call than a company saying, oh yeah, this is a kind of a proxy of the problem we are interested in. Because then why wouldn't they provide their own data and do a challenge on that?
So what I wanted to say is then they did have clear interest, it seemed, at AC Multimedia, kind of to come up with a few very signature use cases, test beds and so on. And this is one of them, basically. So we could ask, because they had clear ideas about his agents, for example.
Great.
Yeah,
about
they should,
healthcare.
then,
Yes,
they should
that's what I said.
propose-
Yeah.
Yes.
They have vested interest because that was the part of that.
Yeah, but it's also research. I think you can't compare it with your example of the end users bringing an interest or someone in the research community be interested. But anyway, they can bring the topic.
Yes, so now we did the work, we will facilitate this, and then we play the ball back to them and say, look, if you want concrete topics around this area, then you go and make it happen. We set, we gave you the data, we gave you the framework, we gave you the location, we even ordered the catering, right? And you just show up and make it happen. Or send your people if you don't show up yourself, right?
I was more thinking like, how often are those steering type of meetings?
I'm guessing annually, because this is the first time this particular meeting has happened.
No, but last year, oh yeah, that was not happening before.
It's not a steering committee meeting.
Uh-huh. So I was just like thinking, okay, maybe.
God, is screaming
Yeah,
inside.
let's see. But I think people may be interested in a kind of chipping in with some ideas.
Okay, so
let's see how
Yeah,
many
just
topics
call-
we
yeah,
get.
what happens?
I mean, what you
So
can
that's
what you can
40.
still do if you see that there is few submissions or there is no topics covered, directly approach some people
Exactly.
and say,
Yeah.
do you want to propose a topic for
Yes,
this?
I would go to Stefan, maybe you can propose garbage detection or something.
Yeah.
We worked very hard to make data for you.
Okay.
I'll plug it in somewhere else.
Well, garbage detection.
Switch?
Yes, yeah.
I'm okay.
If you're cold?
I'm not cold, but if you want to switch, I can.
No, I was just it's because you were looking like you were cold.
No, I'm not cold.
If somebody gives me their bedroom.
What?
You will drive your car into it.
Mine is on the ground
Charging
floor.
will also be faster with warm
Somebody
lights.
gives me the bedroom. I'm gonna go and sleep there.
I just want to hang the wire out the window.
You can put it in my bedroom, no problem. It's
I already hate
Yeah, you
this
can not
system.
use mine is just in front of the.
Okay, fine. I'll move the car, then everybody's going to be warm, right?
No, not now.
Workshop first.
Yes.
We are
okay,
not-
gonna finish this.
No
otherwise
3-minute breaks.
This is not gonna.
You know what's
You're
bizarre?
staying here.
You know what's bizarre? We are now helping the planet by charging this with electricity, but we are also cooling the home, so the heating is working harder. So I think we already kind of.
Oh, don't worry. The building isn't that well insulated anyway.
Exactly. Yep.
Okay, so let me summarize this to say we have decided there's some kind of a process through which a hackathon takes place. One of those hackathons will be suggested to senior SIGMM people to be a healthcare one that they figure out based on this data set. Here's details of the data set. Other people can propose hackathons as well.
No,
Well, topics.
Topics for the hackathon.
So the hackathon is based on this.
Hackathon is one
Yes.
thing.
Okay.
Right.
There
It's
is one hackathon.
Yes.
It is going to be so. This particular hackathon is going to use this particular data set.
What happens
And-
if there's a second hackathon?
There's no
What
second
happens,
hackathon.
what happens if Huawei Dublin come in and say we want to do a hackathon on social media something? Do we go, yes, fine, of course, welcome, let's do it? Will it be seen that we sat
Depends on
around
how
the
much
table?
money they give you.
Okay.
No, so
entry.
it has never happened before, so we do
Yes.
not need to plan for this eventuality.
So this is
But if it
did
basically
happen,
if they give you enough money, you do.
So
many
this is
things, right?
interesting. I think we could have two models that are also justifiable. So our community, our own community, SIGMM decided to have one hackathon that's based on a real heterogeneous multimedia data and health-based topics. If anybody else would like hackathon, well, you have to fund it somehow to read the
Well,
reports and apply so that we can check whether
I
it's
don't see it happening for this year. I guess this may be something for the year after when people see the hackathon happening and say
Right.
next year we'd like
Yeah.
to do something else.
So
I
I-
wouldn't care about this stuff this
So
year.
given that this never happened before, I don't expect that people will just running in outdoors and say, I want to host another hackathon at your venue. Because the great success of the hackathon that hasn't happened yet inspired me to do that.
Right.
And so I don't think this is something we need to worry about, and on the off chance that somebody actually comes, then we will figure out what to do.
Yeah, I agree. Okay, but there's a single hackathon.
Single.
There's a
Single
there's the
Many topics, one
SIGMM
hackathon.
sponsored hackathon around the data set that is
Yeah.
being created this very moment.
What?
But yes, you're actually on camera, in case you haven't noticed.
But Luca, I have just one request. Because you mentioned also it could be some gaming related topic.
Well,
And we
it's
should
more of a
also allow
motivation-y kind of thing.
Sorry?
This was more of a motivation-y kind
Motivation,
of thing, right?
yeah, but
As
that's what I
in
told to
make
Matthias
it
also.
playful.
Yeah, but
It's
why not? I mean,
Yeah,
people
yeah.
could.
It's
I mean, you could.
I was thinking more of gamification than of actual video games. But if somebody wants to make a video game out of this somehow,
like
You
a
could
game
you could
show.
have
I mean-
animated characters from all of us. You have
yeah,
enough data.
sure, if they want to.
Sounds awesome.
The enthusiasm.
No,
Okay,
but I mean,
no problem, we
It's
can-
it's got. I would try and set as few constraints as
Yeah.
possible, and then just
A
let
workshop.
people run with it.
Yeah.
And just essentially set the bounds that this is actually realistic.
Yeah.
That we think that this has a reasonable chance of succeeding within the parameters we can identify.
Yeah.
But I was just saying that it does not need to be in relation to our data set, right?
No, it should be in.
It should be in
Yeah.
relation to the data set
Yeah.
somehow.
You can make. I guess you can make any gamification approach out of it. Like, for example, trying to. I mean, and this could even be health related, right? I mean,
Yeah.
you find. Or you try to mine patterns of incentives for, I don't know, for moving, for drinking less alcohol,
Or-
for whatever, and
or
you
I-
try to make a game out of that.
Yeah.
I guess it should at least be applicable to the data set and demonstrated based on the data
Okay.
set.
Yeah.
So
Yes.
even if you have a thing and say I'm gonna do gamified data augmentation that is theoretically applicable to any video stream,
Good example.
then that is great. That
Yeah.
then it is also applicable to this video stream, and you're supposed to
Yeah.
demonstrate that it is, at least among other things,
Okay.
applicable to this.
Yeah.
Okay, I'll write an email summarizing all of that. I'll run it by everybody.
I wrote some notes. I
Okay,
think that's
I'll run it by
one
a
of
few
the
people then,
exercises.
and I will send it to Alan, Alberto, and Ramesh, who were organising that meeting. So here's what we came up with.
Yes. And basically, there was the talk of data augmentation, data visualization or representation, but
Yeah.
you could have kind of orthogonal, say health would be one of the
Health
things.
is one. Health is going to be figured out anyway.
Yeah,
We'll have to
yeah.
on health, but there's other ones we can.
So
do.
just a
Right.
second. Now we diverged. First, you said that all solutions, all the work has to be health related.
No,
No.
No, no, no.
There must be a health related.
Yeah.
no, it's an option to make health related.
So health is one of the topics of interest.
Yes.
It is
And we
the
want
thing
to
we're going to suggest.
encourage having one
We're going to
topic.
encourage
included.
that
Yes.
this is going to have a health angle. If people really say no, but I really want to do 40 point cloud Gaussian splattering, whatever, then let them do 40 point cloud Gaussian splattering.
Okay, so we
or
get
whatever
back
it's
and we
called.
have a data set and a facilitation
Right.
process to support.
Yes.
Yeah.
And we can incentivize by saying that one of the awards is gonna go to healthcare related topic, and the rest.
No, I think
No,
if we go with
You give
we
examples
go
because
of
what you do if
healthcare.
you just have one healthcare related
Yeah.
topic, then
it's like a
Give them
hackathon.
award.
no.
If you have a really bad one.
Yeah, no,
Give them award, data right?
no,
No, I mean,
Look, it could be as simple as recipe book generation, right?
millennial
That's,
thing.
that's
Everybody
enough
gets a
for a
medal.
healthcare hackathon.
yeah, we're not doing
Yeah,
that.
Let's not do that. Taking part is its own reward.
You're
Yes.
not millennial, man. It doesn't concern you.
First of all,
technically I am.
Okay,
of course I am.
Can you give me tea?
Okay, we have the hackathon. I think
Okay.
that's okay. That's moving it along.
Okay. Next in the agenda.
Next in the agenda.
Next in the agenda was the thinking beyond, or trying to apply the learnings and all the discussions back to the things you already have, right? So we've been doing LSC, we've been doing VBS for several years now. We have grown the data sets that are used for these benchmarks, and with the new data sets we also have new variations on type of tasks that we can do. Given such a data set as this, and possibly even whatever might come after this, what directions do we foresee in, or what are consequences for these challenges that we foresee, that new opportunities that would open up, and what would we need to do to make that happen?
I mean, clearly one opportunity I see is, I think we all find question answering tasks very interesting, and having especially these complex and aggregating question answering tasks. And for example, on V3C, this is not really possible because of the diversity of things. You can't ask a question across the entire data set unless you have really watched everything. While here you have a closed world and you have certain constraints to know that something has happened or has not happened, and if it has happened, these are the places to check. So you could more easily have these kind of question answering queries that need to draw information from various types of the content.
I mean, yes, specifically for V3C, I could also foresee something that is a variation on a question answering task that essentially says something between question answering and AVS, that you have a find me instances that answer a particular kind of question, as in show me show me examples of, I don't know, complete sequences of preparing food, right?
Sure,
so this would not be a single clip, but a find me all the instances
sure.
across various things.
No, but I think especially these kind of aggregation, like the how many times did I fly in this year, which airline did I take? So all these things need like a closed set of data. And I think this is enabled by a data set like this one. And I think these are tasks that are fairly close to practical challenges.
Yeah, but I mean, you could also do some data exploration and analytics and say find me all the people hiking, and then it's not just shots of people hiking, but find me all the actual people. So then you need to cross-reference this to person identification, things like that, right?
Yeah.
There's another implicit question here, which is, here, up until now, LSC has used a particular type of data and so has VBS. Now we're after going and doing something that's somewhere between both of them, and we're putting it into ACM Multimedia. Does ACM Multimedia stay the home of this new thing, or does this new thing also go into LSC and VBS, in which case they're all going to be kind of the same?
Yeah.
What do we want to do as a strategy? is it that the ACM Multimedia Challenge is the video lifelog challenge, the LSE is the stop motion lifelog challenge, and VBS is a large scale video retrieval challenge? What happens if we kind of blend these things together?
Yeah.
What falls? Does LSE or VBS drop aside because now the big one is the one in ACM Multimedia? Are we happy with that? I don't think we want that necessarily.
I mean, the just logistically, like I think what apart from the effort, I mean, yeah, you can't ask every team to be in everything. As you mentioned, there's already a lot of things going on, and I think I'm also I have trouble imagining this event like we have it at MMM and ICMR, where it's a single track thing where the whole conference comes together for this session. I don't see how you scale that to a huge conference like ACM Multimedia.
Yes. And also actually yesterday we discussed that we should not do a real on-site challenge there. So a real on-site competition.
It could still happen in future, right?
Yeah. But
For this one, yes, for the Grand Challenge.
But yeah.
So is that enough of a separation then?
So
This is mostly asynchronous then.
Yeah, I mean, it could be like a track grid-like or more track grid-like thing.
Right, TrackFit / NTCO.
I mean, we can still do the interactive thing in the. It's going to happen in a workshop slot, and then see what happens, right? So this is. I mean, also VBS and LSE had some years to become established. Yeah. I mean, especially VBS is now an integral part of MMM.
Yeah. Yes.
LSE is technically still a satellite event, technically still a workshop that technically needs to be approved every year, and some year a workshop chair could say no, we're not going to do this, we already did this a bunch of times.
It's possible.
They would probably be getting angry emails from people, but
steering committee, yes, and people on the steering committee, yes, general chairs, and half people at this table who are on the steering committee, yes. But yeah, ACM. My understanding was ACM were not going to be happy if we had guaranteed accepted papers in an ACM proceedings. I know in theory for MMM and ABS we don't. But we kind of do. We have probably never. Well, maybe we have.
I guess there have been very few rejections, but mostly because people misunderstood the assignments or something.
I mean, the rule is basically any reasonably understandable description of a system that can, with some shepherding, be turned into a readable paper.
So maybe
it's accepted,
it's
right?
Time to go back to open up that question again for LSE and go. We want this to be an integral part of this conference. That goes back to the steering
you
committee
need
first.
to move LSE to ACM Multimedia?
No, I mean for ICMR, move it into like
our
DBS
proceedings.
It actually makes a difference, right?
Move it into the main proceeding and just say this is a track.
Yes,
that would be very good, I think.
But that's what I got pushback on a few years ago, so I can try it again.
And then maybe also integrate the video data set there for the LSE. Because it fits perfectly to it, right? To the VPS it would also fit because it's video type.
But that's the interactive side. Then really, that we focus on the asynchronous stuff for this, and the demo is just the synchronous.
I mean, it could even the dataset could possibly even be used in both things, but for different purposes.
Different tasks.
Because the type of tasks in VBS and LSE are technically, as in how they are implemented, very similar. Semantically, they're still quite different.
And I mean, to be honest, like if you take, we have a decent share of wedding videos in in the data set. I mean, like a group of people being at a wedding is not so different of us being some days here,
but we've never done anything with it explicitly, right? So we don't have the wedding subtask.
Yeah.
But I mean, this is something we could possibly do for whatever comes after V3C, if there are some directions and say, well, if we will inevitably run out of V3C, probably within 2 years or so. So then we might anyway need to design something else that has new properties for interesting challenges that we foresee for the future.
Do you see VBS being able to have a track for this data set, where somebody can take part but not take part in the VLC data set track.
That definitely can fit to VPS because we have so many
Yeah,
different types
but
already.
I mean, how would you split the track?
Yeah, I
Then
don't
you
know,
do
I'm
a
just thinking.
separate session, then
That's anyway something that is
I don't know. Yeah, that's a
increasingly a problem with VBS. We have seen this year, that we had so many different things going on, so
Yeah.
many different combinations of data sets and task
Yeah.
types, that for every for every single combination there were only very few instances. So the amount of data that we actually have, the amount of results, keeps getting smaller and smaller, and it keeps getting increasingly difficult to draw any conclusions from this.
Yeah.
So either we cut down on this, or we lean into it. Cutting down would mean we keep the time frame of saying, look, this is a half day actual challenge, so full day event, but there's still some time to everybody getting settled, and then we only have the 6 hours or so to actually do evaluations, and there's only so many tasks, so we need to scope this down. Or we say no, there's going to be tracks. People can sign up for tracks, and then this might be a 2-day thing that runs even possibly in parallel to some of the more of the main conference, because it just needs more time. And then we say explicitly, okay, this type of thing is on first day in the morning, this type of thing is on first day in the afternoon, and then people can decide, do they want to do all of it, do they want to do some of it, but then it becomes more.
And to be honest, even having longer expert sessions in the past years has always been logistic trouble.
Yeah.
With conference starting on Monday, not being able to gather rooms on Sunday, so I find it quite difficult.
I mean, I think an alternative version would be to kind of keep the 3C collection as the main collection, and then work with 1 or 2 satellite collections which
I would
could
also agree,
rotate,
so.
right?
Yeah.
Because now there's the question of how much more do we learn now from, for example, the medical collection. We know it's extremely hard.
Yeah.
Do we need to, or is this now the new site collection that we would go with?
Yeah. So I personally would even prefer using only V3C at VPS in the future, but for question answering tasks, and removing the medical data set maybe again, and removing also the MVK again.
Right.
Yeah.
But I mean, this is a good direction to plan the next generation of challenge data set.
Right.
Because I mean, V3C was primarily designed for TrackWid. So I had quite some discussions with the people behind TrackWid, specifically the AVS track at TrackWid, to see, okay, what is it they would want and need from this. And then it was mostly, oh, we have this new thing, we might as well use it for VBS as well. Given that a new one is coming up within the foreseeable future anyway, we could do some explicit scoping of the requirements, and then see what we would need to design for the foreseeable future of the properties we already know. And probably by the time we're through with it, it's going to be obsolete anyway, because there's going to be new questions that require new types of data.
Yeah, I fully agree with that. And in addition, I think if we have one data set only for VPS, it would definitely simplify everything, or even the barrier to go into the competition for new teams.
It could be just restricting task types. So as you say, maybe keeping
QA.
one for QA, and then maybe having visual non-item search still for specific types of data, right?
Or maybe for LSC. I mean.
So for me, LSE is a lifelog search challenge.
And it should remain that.
Yes, it should remain a lifelog search challenge.
That's
It's
in
the name.
We have to keep them separate, right?
Yeah,
Now, what we're doing in this
Yeah.
conversation
Yes,
is saying there's a VBS,
and
there's an LSC,
And that one
There's a
also
lifelog
has a lower barrier to entry,
and there's a POD
even
one.
than the video browser stuff.
For me, LSC is a lifelong sort of challenge.
Yes. It is.
For everyone.
If we want to search your videos there, like these videos.
Then
No,
that
this is not a lifelog.
that blurs the difference between LSC and VBS.
This is-
Well,
this
no,
is not a
because
lifelog.
semantically,
Like this is the POV challenge, right?
No, because it I guess, and I don't want to.
But you're going
I'm going to go too much into the philosophical discussion of what a lifelog is, but so far the lifelog, the notion of what a lifelog is has been dictated by what type of data was possible to collect and what type of data was possible to be made available for this sort of thing, given the technology that existed at the time of the recording of this lifelog. Right, because this is also a type of lifelog.
Yes,
it is just something that you would.
a merging of the two somehow.
But his stream would be his lifelog. My stream is my lifelog.
Yes,
I
exactly.
don't think stationary cameras.
No, stationary camera. Well,
There could be. I mean,
stationary camera. There could be such a thing as a multi-perspective lifelog. If you say, look, for the person one has a lot of stationary cameras in their house and spends a lot of time in their house, and person two spends a lot of time abroad or all over the place and is having a wearable camera, and person three does not have a camera at all, but essentially narrates their audio log and takes a bunch of pictures. All of these things could be different forms of lifelogs.
Yeah, this is,
Right.
this is
This is
more community lifelog, more group
So
lifelog.
it's still different to what the LSC up until now has done. Right?
Yes,
It's
but
been a single person lifelog.
But is it because this is precisely the challenge that is the best challenge there could be, or is it because this is the task that could be reasonably made available and therefore the best feasible task that could actually be implemented? As in, if there was instrumentation to record many more things, would we want that, or do we say no, we want explicitly image sequence thing because for some reason this particular thing is the
For
most
the
interesting?
LSC challenge, we still do have more multimodal data than anybody actually uses, right? So it's still there. You can still use the heart rates and all those things if you want to use it.
I mean, so far there have been very few questions, very few
Right.
tasks where it would actually be useful. So it's a bit of a chicken and egg thing, right?
Yes.
Nobody's processing it.
Yeah. So I would recommend for LSC that we only keep the image-based data set, because the entry barrier is much lower for new teams.
For as long as that seems sensible, right?
Yeah. And maybe at ACM Multimedia, we use this
POV.
video-based data set for this asynchronous competition, kind of, which not on-site live competition.
At least for the next year or two. And VBS still uses VLC.
Yes.
And
V3C.
V3C.
Yeah, whatever, VLC.
VLC is something.
Yeah,
It's probably also used.
but that still manages
You
to
wanted
keep
that video.
Yes.
it manages to keep the separation between the three different things, right?
I think you're right.
That's important unless
So
we
we have
just
to-
if we move LSC to use this data set, then LSC ultimately becomes that multimedia thing at MM. If you there's danger for VBS as well. If you go into this data set that why are you doing this twice? Just do it once.
So let's keep their focus.
Yes.
Yeah.
So we have the focus kept on the data sets, and in 2 years' time or 18 months' time at Castle 2, we go back and say, well, how successful has this POV thing been?
Yes, but I mean, independently of that, there might I still foresee a future where several years down the line, LSC might have a very different type of data set,
Absolutely. And I
because
love that.
at that point there might be variable cameras that essentially do this type of data, but they are small enough that you can clip it to a shirt and wear it all the
The
time.
first ever lifelog challenge we did at NTCIR was from 3 people for a month each. Right? We actually did start off with more people, but just it became more of a headache to keep that going.
Right.
It became 2 people, it became 1 person. Right? So
Is that recording the whole time?
Turn off your camera.
Yeah. So there will be lunch ready in about 10 minutes.
Yay!
Oh, good. I'm so hungry.
Yeah.
Can I just write up something? Can I try to summarize what I heard?
Yeah.
You don't need to.
LSC, VBS, and ACMMM Grand Challenge / Hackathon should be having
half an hour or so.
No.
Unique
No,
signatures.
Yes.
VBS
Okay.
is VBS. Let's put it. So let's say with LSC, which is kind of smallest in scope. LSC should be focused on personal life log data. There should be a task that's visual only to provide, I would say, a low threshold for participation. But nobody prevents people from using also the other data such as geocoordinates and so on and so on.
I mean, I think it would be interesting to have tasks that actually would benefit
Yes,
from that.
Yeah.
To put pressure on people integrating more and more.
Yeah. On the other hand, I mean, I guess we're deliberately sometimes avoiding tasks that are easy to solve with geolocation or things like that.
Yeah. But I'm saying, you know, elevate heart rate or elevation or something like
those
this.
things, yes, but
more,
like
more rare.
not,
I mean, especially for for ad hoc kind of queries, it might also be interesting to do more of a when did I exert myself on the weekend kind of things, right?
Yes.
Which you don't necessarily get from the images.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Yes.
Things like this. So
Where do I like to
essentially,
party?
so essentially, there's an aim towards more semantic distinction of the different events.
So let's see.
Smell. Check the oven.
Yeah, I checked it. It looks good.
Recently?
It looks good.
Okay.
Just a few minutes ago.
Okay.
Hey, but with these ovens, I have to tell you, it
smell
looks
it.
like nothing is happening, and then all of a sudden.
But also from a purely task implementation point of view. I mean, we already talked about this, I don't know, yesterday or 2 days ago. That even the way the tasks are phrased or are conducted have quite some room for
Seems not the lower one.
for design variations. So the motivation behind instant search, known item search, the way I always understood it was I've seen this thing before somewhere at the point in time where I didn't have the chance to actually note anything down or take a picture or anything, and now I want to find it again. And we're trying to simulate this process where you need to inject this memory somehow.
Exactly. Yeah.
And I mean, we're trying to do some experiments how well this memory injection thing actually represents what we're doing, but we haven't seen a lot of variation on how this is done. So I would actually really propose to say, okay, why don't we have this more conversational style, for example, and say, okay, there's volunteers that are being shown the clips.
Yeah.
And then we can see, do they have access to the clip, or they're shown the clip beforehand and then they actually have to remember.
Yeah.
And then they're just there and say, okay, I'm going to describe this to you and you can shout questions at me. And then maybe we need to have a not everybody shouting at once kind of mechanism. But this would essentially be a new variant of KISS, which is less predictable, but is inherently more interactive because it is actually back and forth between an intelligent agent, as in a person describing what they remember, and all the people searching for it.
So we should also probably consider that now, and that you have an IR, maybe that's like for them, people are increasingly kind of playing with LLM taking that role. So instead of having these volunteers, you could actually take a very large model, show it the content alongside the ground truth, and actually make it act as some sort of oracle.
Well, you don't need the content alongside the ground. I mean, if you describe a ground truth, I think that there's two things here. One thing is you show it the content, but then you rely on the capabilities of that model doing the visual interpretation, which is a bit dangerous, I think. What I could imagine is you try to write it down and then you purely rely on the text of looking up things in that particular text, for which I think the LLM would be much more reliable.
I'm not saying there is one way to do that, because people are playing, what can they do actually?
Given that this is going to be a one-shot interactive thing anyway, I'm much more inclined to actually have a person there.
Yeah, I mean, why not have a person and have an LLM in parallel, just to benchmark that one?
Yes, but we can also do that.
That would be interesting papers later.
But to have the, I'm gonna ask you something strange because this is how my system happens to work, and the LLM may or may not have ever thought of that.
Yeah.
But also this is then a thing of the person. And so, oh well, let me think. Maybe I remember, or maybe I don't.
Exactly,
we had this thing, for example. So, well, if I know that my OCR is very good, then I'm going to pay attention to any little piece of text that's on the screen, even though you probably would never have paid attention to this if you just had seen it in the wild. Whereas probably if you actually just show it to a person without priming them to, oh yeah, by the way, I have a very good OCR, they're just not going to know.
Yeah, exactly.
Or maybe they do, or maybe they misremember. But then you have the actual...
So you know who would know it? If you provide your paper, like let's say VBS submission to a large model, it could pick up what the components are, probably even better than.
No, but the large model does either know or it doesn't, right? So it's not going to pay attention differently based on the papers you prime it. It either has the visual capabilities of extracting this information or it doesn't.
Yeah.
And probably something OCR-y is way lower in the semantic hierarchy, so it will have a much easier job of saying, was there any text on the screen? It says, yes, there's all the text I remember seeing on the screen. Whereas, was this shot in Southern Europe? And so, well, how would I know, right?
Yeah. I mean, and there's really, I mean, we had a summer intern working on video to text this summer, and exactly this point that you mentioned of named places. This is something where we compare different models, and they differ a lot. Some never fix any location, others always give you a location. Sometimes it's right, sometimes it's wrong. So these things you really see, like, did they have some geo-reference data in the training, or how much of that did they have? But I mean, I like this idea, and I think it really, I like it also because it highlights the importance of doing that in the interactive session. This is not something you can do asynchronously. Whether you do it with people or with models, the answers will never be the same. So you have to do that in the interactive challenge.
So it would be reasonably easy to implement.
Yeah.
The only thing that we would need to make sure is that there is some sort of audio-video recording of the event, so we actually have a record of this dialogue that happened. Because otherwise we just put the same thing into the race and just as a hint you leave it empty, and you have a person there who is instructed to answer these questions, and the system still will know what the ground truth is and will judge accordingly.
I guess the question is also like how to design it. Maybe it could be like a panel of people there who do this answering, just to balance memory capabilities of people. Some people being better at visual things, some people better at conceptual things. So maybe having like a panel of 3 people there, and together they answer, and they also have to agree what they answer.
But what is the practical scenario and practical, let's say, research question?
Something like this is much closer to the scenario of you having the memory and needing to investigate a system, or even imagine way back when we had archivists for this sort of thing, that would be the only ones having access to the collection. You walking up to the archivist and say, look, I need this type of footage from way back when, I know I've seen it, and then it's okay, let me help you try to find it. And what was it about? Where did
And what you do is you equalize conditions, because we had these cases where we thought about showing people video clips before and then have their memory let it find it.
Right.
But then it depends on the memory capabilities, visual memory capabilities of the individual participant.
Right.
Here you level this for all. You have the same.
Yeah, and I mean what we could even do is have give the person some visualizer thing or so
Yeah.
they can draw things
Yeah.
or on a whiteboard or on a flip chart
Yeah.
and say, oh yeah, it was sort of like this, and there was this person over
Yeah.
there, and there because we also have the differences, especially when for the textual tasks. There's on the one hand the cultural and the knowledge context.
Yeah.
So if you say a particular thing, it invokes a different image in my
Yeah.
mind than it might invoke in somebody else's. There's also different levels of how visual people are actually thinking. So how much of an image this actually invokes. And probably all of this somehow feeds into the process, and it is very hard to quantify how and to what degree. And we've so far never even attempted this, because it is, how would you even design this? But if you have another person serving as a proxy for this, it at least moves the variability from all the participants to that one person to at least some degree.
Yeah. But then you're talking about less time pressure to solve this kind of task.
Not necessarily.
No.
I mean, we would probably give it a bit more time, because just the dialogue part takes a bit of time,
Yeah.
and not everybody can shout questions at the same time.
Right.
But we still see many tasks are solved way ahead of the time limit, so it might get us a more spread field and closer to the time limit. We could just set the maximum time higher, and if we are done, we are done.
Yeah, I'd probably increase the maximum time just to be sure, and then see how much we actually need.
I mean, we've talked about this a few things. Like, ideally, you would have infinite working time until the last team submitted, because then you really know a more precise ranking. But for practical reasons, we cut off somewhere. Right?
You can. I mean, the point is that if there's too much time pressure, people would not be as much inclined to use this. Aspect of
that's
this.
true. That's true. Yeah, I mean, that's what we also.
So my worry basically is this: that if everybody's here,
you're right. I mean, I had the experience that I was trying to give hints during the competition, and nobody realized it because they were
too busy with something.
Yeah.
Yes. Yeah. Or you could say that we don't accept answers until after a certain time. So you have a free.
That could also
4
be a good point.
minutes.
Yeah.
If you're ready by then, yes, you're one of the quickest.
Well, I mean, you can accept the answers, but you're just not gonna tell people if
it's correct. Yeah.
Yeah.
Ugh.
Yeah, but then that would guide your questions, right? So.
Yeah, but I mean, people are just gonna shut up once they're
once they
they're
think
done.
they have it.
Yeah. And then,
But
I mean,
maybe
even if the system, I mean, the race is just gonna give you a green thing or a red thing, but it's not going to tell you what it was. So unless you explicitly wanted to, but in this case we wouldn't. And then even say, oh yeah, team whatever found it based on the answer to that question that you all also heard.
Yeah.
So it's the same information available to everybody.
Yeah.
Right.
Somehow, I cannot. Kind of get rid of the thought that this is already conversation that we have, because what happens on the spot, people are asking, and there is a piece of information being revealed, and sometimes you guys are also giving some hints,
Yes, but I have no control over what that information is. Whereas if you came to me and wanted me to find something for you, I would ask you the things that I would need to know to close the gap between what I have and what you want. Whereas if I say, okay, now I really need to know if it's a landscape or a portrait, and then the next thing you say, oh yeah, by the way, there's a tree in the background.
So can't we make it like this? So then this is good what you say. So teams are working on, conversational, let's say, search task. And then after maybe a minute or two, we allow them, or maybe immediately, kind of once or twice during that time period, to answer some questions. And there are going to be some questions there popping up from different teams. They can ask maybe one question each. You're not happy about it?
No, go ahead.
Then it gets a game theory aspect,
Yeah.
because the questions are answered all at the same time. There's a time limit. The
Right.
answer to the questions are going to be available to everybody. So
Yeah.
then you will, since you want to win this, you will try and ask questions that help you most while revealing as little useful information to
As
everybody
possible.
else.
Yeah.
If you can do that. So the questions are going to be very narrow to the capabilities of your thing,
Yes.
which may or may not be a good representation of.
But you cannot jump in because I think like this conversational aspect. I think when we're making tasks, you know, there's kind of an implicit conversation in mind, right? What are the questions that might be asked, and in which order do I want to answer them,
Yeah,
right?
exactly,
So one
yeah.
option that is in between would be that teams are allowed to submit questions, but basically on the spot, and they're anonymized, so you don't know which team is asking which question. On the spot, you create the next step, right? Or you might have multiple different alternatives for the next step. I now decide what's going to be the next thing that I give out.
Okay,
that may or may not answer your question or your question.
So I mean,
right?
so what we could do is, rather than everybody shouting
Right.
their questions, we could use one of these audience participation tools where
Right.
people can submit and vote on questions.
Right.
But then it again has the interaction burden that I actually need to type in my
Yeah.
question. I need to look at all the
Yeah.
questions that are already there.
Well,
People might not
you
vote,
would type in your question. You don't know any other questions.
So without
Yeah.
revealing
And you
what's
get
our,
some
we are working
more
on a paper
hints.
for SIGIR. We are now working on a paper for SIGIR, so please don't use this idea. But I think many other people use the same. So there is this interesting aspect of diffing, you know, like you have one set, you have another set, and okay, that one I kind of follow. So just translating without going into that one, it's not related to this story. When you get those results,
Yeah, Jennifer, I'll give it to the list. I was surprised I actually bought those. They're like organic brand.
Is it done?
It's done.
Should I bring the plate?
Yes, that's a good thing. Bring the plates in and then they realise dinner's ready.
Maybe? Yeah. I can bring them in. No, I can serve them here.
Yeah, I'll
Right,
bring.
it's easier.
Yes. I get you.
This smells great. Make one of these. Of course. I think all conferences should have the delegates making the food. It's such a nice thing.
But this is a very interesting idea.
so you know what's the problem with volunteer? I can tell you that. So I didn't have it with technology students, like never ever. But now in some tracks I have social sciences students, and I think they are also wired a little bit differently. So they perceive everything as a bit of negotiation, conversation, or maybe it kind of just changed, you know. So whenever I make an exam, there's gonna be a few of them, you know, like that start.
First, how do you already
I think you have an error.
Carl just brought it out.
No, in the notebook there is no error. It's very simple to check. Aha, are you sure about that? Yeah, I'm totally sure.
Then you don't need a new glass.
I don't get it. Why is it not this one? And you know, you start really big
No,
conversation
it's
and you
there.
cannot remove any unclarity that's potentially there.
Yeah, but
then
I
you are always
don't think
afraid
this
how
is an
much
issue
did you
that.
reveal,
Yes,
you know, like, because to that person you almost solved the question and they started like, you could say, I don't
Thank
know
you.
with the code, or
I get what you're saying, but this is probably much more of a problem in reality than it would be at Network, because you can more clearly
Big.
you have people more in tune with the spirit of the task.
Yeah, fair enough.
so.
That is
Are we writing up something about it, about diffing or not?
I think this is a great thing, and we should try to have this implemented in 26.
Yes.
Still talking.
They're not going to stop talking. We have to do the happy quiz after this.
For your Mama Moo questions.
Yes, I can't wait.
Always Mama Moo.
This has been remarkably successful, right?
There is a bottle.
It's okay, we'll use it anyway.
Oh no, it's open now. We have to throw it away. No, I'm just kidding.
Okay, hand this to somebody.
All right, super low.
Sure. Oh, I think I need another. Yeah, wait.
No, you can't do it. It's going to fall off the edge just minute.
If you can.
Ready? Yeah. There's a little piece left here.
I'm gonna give this to Luca. Why are you laughing?
And you're not being able to.
No, he has one already.
Capture this.
He has one already, so I can't give it to him. This one is gonna be to, I don't know. Everyone almost has it already. So 1,
Replies.
2, 3.
And then probably.
We need 4 more. That is very creamy.
Is it very creepy? Vision language models that only do single images as input are very heavy.
Yeah, no. So, but that we can do.
Why are you smelling it? It's too late now.
Yeah. Here we are done, almost. I mean, maybe it's some.
This is Carl's.
I smell this.
Building a simulator.
I would absolutely be up for that and try to implement this as a type of task for UBS 26. I would still hope to try the person in the loop thing.
Okay. Probably need to talk about LSC too.
We're going to have dinner. LSC topics aren't going to change that much.
I actually want to split the QA task into subtasks.
Into direct QA and.
No, because they have like, I don't know, like.
Well, you're now an organizer of LSC, so you can do this.
Yeah. But you are making the. I haven't seen the latest stuff yet.
It's the same as the other one.
Yes, we should absolutely.
With Hongi, we are already building this thing. I don't guarantee how it's planned.
For text. For
Okay,
video,
that I
for
think we
what?
have everyone.
For image and video. We have some
Okay.
video data sets and some.
Okay.
We have everyone.
Okay.
Yeah. Teen is not here anymore. So.
Ja. Dann stell den, du tust das vielleicht in eins zusammen, dann stößt du rum.
No, but this is definitely something interesting. That,
Sure.
but that requires to invent new things.
Yes,
So,
there are some.
build a machine that does this.
After you because Hongi claims that one of these that recently came out is pretty good starting point for that.
Yes, absolutely. And I mean, building it from scratch is anyway not feasible unless you have much more data available than need.
You're gonna have
You
this.
give me this. I move it inside.
Hey, your sustainable car is